Thanks for coming back to Talk with TQ. We're on location today, and I always like going on location, and I do thank my director and my sound tech for indulging me in this. But we're on location at the home of Dee Krauer. Dee Krauer is a psychic astrologer and a self-proclaimed Wicca minister, aka a witch. What? We don't do any black magic here, but this place is a place of love, and I'm very curious all the time, and I'm always very interested to find out how people became who they were. So Dee Krauer has quite a following. She's been spiritual counsel to regular, everyday people, housewives, business people. Lots of business people come to her for some insight on what's going on or what's going to happen in their life and which way they might want to go. And she even, has celebrity clientele. Now, the reason I want to interview her is I know that there's something that makes people that way. I've never really understood it. So I'm going to introduce Dee. I'm going to ask her, when did she find out that she had the gift of clairvoyancy? Welcome, Dee.
Hello.
Thanks for being on the show.
Thank you.
Are you happy to be here?
Sure, why not?
You're in your own house. Why not, right?
Right, that's right.
So,
and with good people.
You're with good people. It's
right.
a very good vibe in here always. Now, tell me and tell our audience when you discovered, or when your gift was discovered, because some people discover.
Well, first of all, let's explain to everybody. Everybody's gifted.
Okay.
It's depending if you ride a tricycle to a unicycle.
Okay.
I'm on a very high unicycle. I'll pat myself on the back.
Oh, okay.
Okay. But I've been doing predictions, if you want to say predictions or different things, since I've been 3 years old. Okay. I'm over 70.
Wow.
So I've been doing it professionally since I got divorced in 1976. Mm-hmm. And I do not advertise. The only way you find me is word of mouth.
Word of mouth.
But it's like you make different predictions for people. I used to say my grandmother's coming home at 3 years old, and she was in Germany.
Wow.
And my mother said, no, she's not coming home for another month, and she show up at the door the next, So, I mean, it's kind of like, so the whole family was intuitive.
Yeah.
It was never stifled in the family.
Okay. So you feel it might be somewhat genetic.
I think everybody has it.
Oh.
I really do think it's part sixth sense. Everybody's they believe in the five senses they have.
Right.
But everybody's got the sixth sense. It's how far do you want to use it?
So
Mother's intuition.
Right. A woman's intuition.
And a man's gut feeling. They know something's wrong or whatever.
Right.
It's all to do with the psychic field.
When did your family realize you had the gift? Usually there's a catalyst.
I think the biggest thing I would say to you is my aunt back in 1957 came upstairs. It was New Year's Day. And told my mother the guy she was married to was going to come and shoot her. And he didn't own a gun. And his brother was there and his sister-in-law. Mm-hmm. I was probably approximately 8 years old.
Okay.
And my brother was 6. Mm-hmm. And he busted through the door like 2 hours later with a .38, shot my mother twice, and then shot himself and killed himself in front of me. All that time I was crying. My aunt was yelling at me, you're going to be doing this. You're going to be reading. I said, no, I'm not. Yes, you are. So, I mean,
wow.
It was kind of like, I was determined not to do this.
Yeah.
Because my aunt told me I was.
Right, and you kept saying, I'm not going to do it.
I'm not going to do it. And lo and behold, then I started playing with it with my friends. Mm-hmm. And then I got blamed if I said they were pregnant. I got blamed for the pregnancy.
Oh, wow, really?
I said, I didn't do that.
Yeah, you have predicted some pregnancies, haven't you?
So that's what I'm saying. So, I mean, it's kind of like, or you make a prediction, and like I tell people, I'm not going to change my mind, and that's where some people are very truthful.
So often your clientele come, and I imagine they ask different things. What do most people come to you for? What do they need to know?
Well,
why do they come?
Like I would say mostly people that come out of curiosity. Mm-hmm. I think they're just looking for answers to what's going on in their life.
Right.
And, of course, we have the ones that are romantic, and they want me to tell them, oh, he loves you, he's going to marry you. Mm-hmm. And when I say he's no good, he's going to beat you or something or other, it's, oh, no, you don't know what you're talking about.
And then what happens?
Then what happens, they come in with a broken arm, and then we go into other readings or whatever.
Right, yeah.
But most people I read for business people, they're looking to know if somebody's robbing them, cheating them.
Right.
contracts. I mean, I can read for a business person, tell, oh, you're signing a contract. Watch paragraph 5 or, page 5 or whatever.
How do you know this, though?
It's kind of like, the only way I can explain it is I really don't need cards to read. I use the tarot deck because it's kind of like the roadmap for the person I'm reading for.
Yeah.
I don't need anything. And it's like doors, little doors open behind a person.
Oh.
And then it's kind of like that door opens up and I kind of like see something in there.
Right.
And then I'll say it. And all you can do is confirm or not confirm.
Right.
If I describe a guy to a person, I'm very good at descriptions and different things. And they'll call up and say, well, he's blonde haired. I said, what color did they say he had? He had brown hair. I said, not the right one.
And then what?
And then they'll say, but this is the one. I says, okay. And then 6 months later, they'll come back and they got a dark-haired guy in their life.
Yeah, or blonde, or whatever you actually said.
Right, whatever I said. I mean, I'm not going to argue with them. Everybody's got free will. And the idea is it's kind of like having a reading done gives you an insight of your roadmap for the next month or two or the next year or two. And if it tells you you got a bad car. Here's a good example. I read for a woman for years. She lived on a mountain. She came off the mountain all the time. And I said, I see your husband having a severe car accident. So I give the good and the bad. And she's, oh, no, it's a brand new car. I said, I don't know, but I see him going off the cliff. And so she basically, only because I read for her for so many years, she took the car back to the dealership that Toni was like less than a month old. Half of the brakes were missing in the front.
Really?
Yeah. So basically, she says, if I didn't do that, he would have been off the cliff eventually.
So tell me, like when someone comes to you and they're interested in talking to you about their career, for instance, because I just happen to know that you have some celebrity clientele. We're not going to name drop.
Right.
And you also have international
clientele. I read all over the world. I read almost in every state.
Right, and you do a lot of stuff in person and on the phone.
On the phone or whatever.
So what is the mechanism? Is there a mechanism?
Well, like somebody will call and say, a celebrity may call, and I'll tell them, I said, don't tell me any information. Let me tell you first. Because I really don't like people giving me information. I'd rather give you my information first.
Right.
And then you can ask questions at the end. I would say probably 99% of the people don't have a question left when I'm done.
Wow.
Because it's like I really try to cover everything. And I'll tell them, well, are you doing a shot or a show by water? Yeah, that's one of them. I said, that's the one you're going to take, and that's the one they end up taking.
That's really interesting.
So it's like, it's kind of like I'd rather talk first than have questions asked.
Right, as opposed to,
Because if they come in and ask questions, I mean, and I have to honestly say, you have to really be careful of a lot of charlatans out there. They'll tell you that you got a curse on you. Fine, you could, but they should remove it for free, or you should take it off for free.
So if you find a curse on someone, you just remove it for free.
I'll do it for free. I would tell them what to do and what not to do.
Because
but I'm saying, but you don't do those things. It's the idea is that and half the time you're not cursed. It's just how you're thinking.
Right, and there are those Times Square psychics. You walk through and there's a bunch of them, and they're upstairs or downstairs.
Right.
I mean, I don't know if they're genuine or not, but I think they're basically in there as a tourist trap very often.
A lot of them are, because I mean, I've read for many of them that I could throw that out the cards. They said, "Oh, you just got ripped off," and they said, "What do you mean?" I said, "What psychic did you pay a couple $1,000s to?"
Ooh, thousands.
And I mean, they didn't come to me when they got, they eventually come to me.
Right.
How do you know that? I says, you have to go back because they change locations. And locations, you might have to go back 6 weeks in a row, because they do have a change they're in one house.
Yeah.
Then they move to the next one. They circulate.
Okay.
So if you go back to get your money back, the same person's not there.
I see. But getting you don't do that kind
of.
No,
I don't do that.
You make appointments.
See, if I could do that and not feel guilty about it, I would have paid my house off by now. Really?
Yeah. Okay, I get you. I get you on that one.
But that's bad karma. That's really bad to do that to a person.
Yeah, and so so often people have a gift. But
everybody has a gift. It's like using it.
So people that actually hang the shingle you know, psychic.
Well, some of them are scam artists. Some are not.
Yeah.
And I would always tell everybody, and I would tell you the same thing. Everybody likes to try new psychics. I couldn't care less. Mm-hmm. I'm the one. I'm not.
Yeah.
I don't feel obligated that you got to come to me. But I always tell you, ask the psychic how they're feeling when you walk in. If they roll their eyes and go, "Oh, I don't know," you don't want to know. You want to get up and leave because you're going to have their reading.
Oh.
They're going to tell you how bad their life is, but it becomes your life.
Becomes your life instead.
Because they shouldn't show you any emotions.
Right.
They really shouldn't show you anything that's going on.
Wow, that's a difficult thing to do. I mean, do you do this? Like, you definitely try to calm down all emotion when people come in to see you?
I shut it off, period. That's it. And I hate to say it. People that have problems, I really feel for them. Mm-hmm. But when they leave, I can't keep the problems with me.
Right.
I can tell you how to correct it and hope you might do it.
Yeah.
And and most people do. I mean, like I say, I've been doing it since I got divorced in 76. I have never, ever advertised. So the only way you found me is word of mouth.
Word of mouth. It's true. It's out there. People know who you are.
I have no website. Mm-hmm. They punch me up, but even by my name, they're not going to find anything.
Right. Okay. So, but it's something to say for word of mouth. It's also something to say by the universal vibration.
Right.
You know, so talk to me about astrology, because you do astrological readings as well.
Well, most readers don't include that in when they do readings. Mm-hmm. But for some reason, I have an uncanny ability. I can tell you, oh, it's a Leo personality or something or other.
Yeah, interesting, isn't it?
And I'll give you the birth dates or whatever, but I'll give you the description because that's the personality the person has.
Right.
Because rising signs also, too, now tell you what you are.
Right. So you have a moon circle that you conduct.
Yes, I do.
And so you find the moon very significant to one sign. So let's say someone...
well, your moon is your emotions.
Okay.
So wherever your moon is, example, do you know where your moon is?
Sagittarius.
So you're a very free lover. Yeah, meaning otherwise you really give of yourself.
I do.
And like if you were a young child and having a moon in Sagittarius, I would tell you can't wear your heart on your sleeve. Can't fall in love with everybody.
Yeah.
You have to get to know them first.
But then you take into account the sun sign.
Oh, so you have to count everything.
Yes.
Yeah, but it's very important. The moon is our emotions. It's how we react to people and how we treat people.
And how about the sun?
The sun is what you're born as.
Okay.
That means otherwise that's who you are. You know, your basic solid personality is.
Right.
But your rising sign now tells what people see you as.
Oh, okay.
So the rising sign is by the moment you're born.
Okay, and it can only be calculated if you know the exact hour.
Or the exact hour and minute that you're born.
Right.
But you don't need that for personality astrology. Mm-hmm. You know, all you need is if you have a birthday. But most times you can tell the personality on a person. But and I don't believe in saying Geminis don't get along with Sagittarius, this one don't get along, because you got to really look at the overall. Nothing is written in stone.
Right. There are people that have a chart that kind of leans one way. I'm sure you've seen that. And they just can't get away from it, you know?
Well, yeah, you can change things, like especially if you have a birth chart that tells you what you were born with.
Yes.
And I mean, it's funny, too, because I've done a chart on a very close friend of mine, Janice. And in her chart, this is known now because she basically was an orphan. It said in her chart that she would be raised by different people.
Yes.
And she lost her mother at 7, her father at 12. She was an orphan.
Right. And so what part of the chart would indicate that?
You have to look at the overall chart.
Okay.
Because your rising sign, like everybody looks at it, your rising sign is really 9 o'clock. Mm-hmm. It's not 12 o'clock, you know what I'm saying? So you have to look where each house they fall into.
Right.
Because now the houses also play into it.
Oh, yes, that's where it gets very complicated.
Right. So it's kind of like knowing it. I mean, the important thing is your first house, that's your rising sign, is who you are, how people see you.
Right. Okay, it's interesting because I think when people know these things, and actually those three, and then they say Venus.
Right. Venus is love.
Yeah.
Mars is war and sex. Mm-hmm. And, Mercury is how we talk to each other. So Mercury, depending where that is, I'll tell you if you lie, you make up stories.
Oh.
I used to do that for Ralph, for his business or whatever. He would tell me a person's name. Can't trust him. Can't trust this one. Trust that one. Just because Mercury will tell you if they're going to be straightforward or not.
Right. Do you know, like, do you hear or do you see? When you actually, like, someone walks in, you get a vibe.
Oh, I get a vibe from everybody.
Of course.
You know, so I mean, it's just I learned to shut my mouth.
Are you also clairaudient?
I would say so. I mean, I'm a little bit of everything, like a Heinz 57.
Okay.
Because there's everybody, bring something in. Can you read this? I can, there's not anything I have been given that I can't read.
Now, do you find that when you read people, there's certain people that kind of suck the energy, suck the air out of your room? When they walk in?
Yeah, they could, but they don't know how to me because I won't allow it.
Yeah.
But that's what you have to be careful of,
Right.
Like even if you have a friend. You ever been around friends and you feel so exhausted after they leave? It's kind of like psychically, they're psychic vampires.
Yeah, there's not necessarily a friend. It might just be a person that you know, and some people's energy. So that's not something that I'm imagining when I feel a certain person.
Right.
Certain people have this heavy.
Right.
Energy.
Like, I mean, I've had people come here and they'll say, oh my God, your house is so calming. They like because of the chimes I have outside.
I like the chimes.
But everybody feels healed because I don't allow negativity in this house.
Right. So even though you've studied the Wicca, I just want the audience to know you do not do black magic.
Black magic, do I want to pay the debt or do my kids pay the debt?
Right.
Would not do that.
Yeah. So it's basically the difference between what you do and what those other people do.
Well, there's a lot of people that'll I'll put a spell on somebody. I'll put them in the grave.
Yeah.
I mean, what kind of karma are you going to get?
And I think people don't realize how powerful words are. The spoken word is so powerful.
Oh, yeah. Even thoughts are powerful, but once you speak it, so does spoken.
Yeah.
So mote it be. So does written. So mote it be.
Right. Which is like saying amen.
Because like when we have our moon circles here, you get a prayer paper.
Yeah.
You write down all your intentions. I can't tell you how many people have come back and said, I've gotten everything I put on that list.
Yeah.
And I could use an example of, here's a good example. I had a woman, now you're talking about when everybody was having problems with their homes back in, I think it was 2008, 2007.
Yeah.
They were losing their house.
Right.
I need $40,000.
Right.
I said, put it on your list. But make sure you put a plus after it. Why? Because you just don't want $40,000. You want some extra money. She just put $40,000 down. 2 weeks later, her husband won $40,000.
Wow. Won $40,000. It's
only 40. And she's, why not more? I said, did you put a plus after it? No. I said, you didn't listen to what I said.
Oh, see? And you have also a ritual where you have the bell.
Yes, and that's to bring in money. But think at Christmas time, what do?
They ring the bell.
In the church, they ring bells. They burn incense.
Yes.
It's really no different than any other religion.
I've gone to your circles. I always find it interesting how some people, they ring the bell and they can't quite make it ring.
Right. And other people, it rings like crazy.
And it's like, they're like, ding, ding. I said, that's not enough money.
And what do I use? I yell across the table, ring the bell so you can hear it.
Yeah, so everybody can hear it. We want to hear it resonate. I'll just share with the audience. One time I was in the circle, sitting next to you. You passed me the bell, and I started ringing it, and the bell fell in my lap.
Right.
And you said, oh, your money's going to fall in your lap. And I passed it on. Next day, I got a $20,000 grant.
Say, told you. Works.
Yeah, it was like crazy.
Works every time.
It works every time. I think it's really interesting that in your circles that people come and gather and they have their questions.
Right.
But it's more kind of like a communal thing.
Right.
And very often it's about the cake. Sometimes
it's about the cake.
Well, the cake. The cake
and the drink, that's important.
Yeah, the cake and the tea. Cake and tea, that's what we have, right?
Well, I have coffee. You like tea.
I like tea, yes, at night. Yes, I had coffee once and I stayed up until 5 in the morning.
No.
And that's Janice's cake, Janice's tea, Janice's coffee.
Well, she used to own a bakery,
Yeah.
So she does the baking.
Yeah, and so it's interesting that we do that. We have it's very ritualistic.
Right.
Now talk to me about the tarot.
The tarot cards, I mean, I use this particular deck, the Rider deck, only because it can't get destroyed so easily.
So talk about the decks, because I've
Yes.
been with you when you've done different decks.
Right.
On certain days.
Like a lot of the decks fall apart within a week if somebody really handles them because there's no coating on them.
Okay.
That's the reason why I use this particular deck, because it stands up to abuse.
Okay.
You know,
It's looking pretty good.
and people don't realize there's 78 cards in the tarot deck.
So not always.
Well, if you only have the major arcana, then there's 21.
Okay.
Yeah, but the whole deck is 78 cards altogether.
78, and that's a standard.
That's a standard deck for tarot.
I wonder why they chose 78.
Well, I figured it out a long time ago. Most people haven't.
What?
Because, I mean, I don't know, because I have a special layout that I do.
Okay.
And if you divide it into 13 houses.
Right. 13 houses.
13 houses.
I thought there were 12.
The one in the middle that I put down is the center of you. So that's the 13th house.
Oh, okay.
Or the first, you know, it's like, it's part, your highlights of your life.
Okay.
6 cards in each one. Divides out perfectly.
Oh, it's just math.
It's math.
Okay.
And numbers are very important in tarot.
Yes.
And in astrology.
And so I know that sometimes people pull aces.
You're right. And
what
aces, usually, if it's a moon cycle, if they pull an ace, we're talking about a dead person that's arrived here to talk to them.
That's in the room.
That's in the room. And a lot of times I can get a description of them.
Yeah, and sometimes they'll speak to you.
Yeah.
Through you.
How I see them.
Yeah, yeah.
Or I can tell them who, you know, the name or whatever's there, I tell them. If nothing shows, but, you know, like I say, aces are lucky. They're power cards.
Yes.
And it means a definite yes on things. Right side, wrong side. And I mean, I get a kick out of people like, oh, this is upside down, but sometimes the cards are better upside down.
Okay, a lot of times people think if it's upside down, it's bad luck.
It's not.
Yeah, yeah. I think people leave here with a feel of refreshment and also a feeling of confidence most of the time.
But I mean, I've told people negative things like, oh, your father's going to die. I mean,
You're very blunt when you
know,
about those things.
or
I've
your mother's
noticed.
going to die, or you know, you're going to hear about somebody dying or whatever, and it's in the cards. I mean, you know, I'm not God. There always can be a miracle. But if it's there, you got a forewarning. You got to take care of it.
I find most fascinating when you predict two things. I find fascinating because I can't say most. Then you predict men that are coming, or you know, significant others, a love thing.
You're right.
You tend to be pretty good at that. And then the other thing that you do that's interesting is the business thing. You know, there are a lot of people come here are very artistic in one way or the other. And you
Well,
predict
I can't say it's all one side because I read for a lot of business people.
Yes.
And they only care about what's going on business-wise.
Right.
And I mean, it's funny. I can tell them the IRS is going to come in and do an audit. So they're prepared for it.
That's not what
their
we want.
second buck will disappear, per se.
Right.
You know, type thing. So they're
Right.
protected. I mean, or you could turn around and tell them, oh, by the way, you got somebody, you know, hitting your till and stealing.
Right.
And they watch and they find them putting it in their pocket. So, I mean, it's like, you don't do these things to people. That's a negative.
Right.
And I don't understand. I mean, you know, you get more from thinking positive. And I mean, everybody's had a rough life. I mean, I had one of the worst. But, hey, I was a victim.
Yeah, you're a child.
I mean, I was a victim. So, I
Yeah.
mean, it's the idea you move on.
It's interesting. Did it force you to grow up fast?
Well, I don't even think I had a childhood, honestly. You know,
Yeah.
that's the whole thing is, you know.
It's serious stuff.
But it's the idea is I'm not blaming anybody else. I was the victim, so let's move on, you know, in the sense that it's not my fault. So why should I, you know, I've had a lot of therapists and psychiatrists. I'd love to get you on a couch. He says, for what?
To find out what makes you tick.
Right, probably.
Yes.
And I tell
know?
them, no, I don't need anyone.
Right. I think sometimes people think there's something wrong with you because you have the gift, I imagine.
I think there's a lot, well, I find that a lot of people like to own me.
Oh.
You know, because I have different girls, different clients that come in. Oh, she's my psych. I don't belong to anybody.
Yeah.
And I don't take sides with anybody.
Yeah.
I tell the truth. And sometimes they don't like the truth. Sometimes people, I mean, and jealousy. I mean, if you ended up having all these good things happen for you, you could have somebody sitting next to you that, why can't it be me? You know what I'm saying?
That
That's the hardest to deal with because you think that they're your friends. And it's just something, you know, it's like, why don't you wish them the best? I mean, it's fine to be a little jealous. I mean, if you get a great guy,
Yeah.
oh, does he have a brother?
Yeah.
Type thing.
Yeah. I can remember you would say something about no names mentioned, like, oh, oh, I hate to tell you, but you're going to have 6 guys. And somebody on the other side of the table will say, come on, to that person. Spread a little love over here.
Right. And it's jealousy over there. I mean,
Yeah.
I can honestly say I read for, different type of people, different talks from different walks of life and everything. And it's funny, like last year, I had somebody come in and they kept showing me the picture of dating on Match.com, I have to say it was.
Yeah.
She showed me a picture. I just saw this picture. And then 2 other ones come in the next 2 or 3 weeks. Same picture.
Same guy.
He's married to somebody, but he's saying he's not married to somebody.
Yeah.
And I'm telling him he's not. Oh, but he loves me. I said, no, he don't. He loves a lot of people.
There you go.
And I mean, I'm honest with people in the sense that I'll tell them that you're a bitch. I don't care.
Yeah, right.
I'll tell them. I said, you're not nice.
So you're just very honest about it, and they don't always like what you say.
Right. Because, I mean, I've had people sit together, and I can have a mother forget even her child's name. Mm-hmm. It's like, oh, who's the initial C? I don't know. And they're punching her because...
The kid's sitting right next to you.
Yeah. Ma, that's my name. I'm Carol, Yeah.
Well, I think the most interesting thing is to pull an ace at a reading. I just love to pull an ace, and I'm like, who's here, Well,
the funny thing is, like the tarot, I always tell people, if you want to learn to do anything, throw the books away. Mm-hmm. Learn from the material itself.
Yes.
Because I disagree with how the book teaches. Because my seasons are different than their seasons. Mm-hmm. You have the seasons as far as fall. You have spring, summer, and winter. Mm-hmm. They have different cards changed around, which I can't see it as a fall card, so I've always read it, and I've been right every time.
Yeah, there you go. See?
And I tell people, even if I taught this, if you pick up something different on it, that's what the card's telling you to say. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like everybody has a different intuition on how to interpret something.
Right. And the energy changes with every
person, right.
Every person that walks in the room.
Like a lot of times during a workshop or something, we'll have everybody do tea leaves. Mm-hmm. Oh. So you're looking at the tea leaves, and it's like you can see a dog in it. I can see a dog in it. The other person now tells you it's a cat.
Yeah.
It's how you see things.
Yes, because it's how it's going to present itself to you.
And being an artist, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The concept of how we see things is different.
It's always very different.
Right.
Than the rest of the world.
Right.
And it changes consistently, as an artist.
And I mean, haven't you ever been around a person that cries?
Yeah.
And then you want to cry? And that's where you see the emotions now are getting passed and forth.
Right.
Between people. You got to let that go. You can't take that home with you.
Right. So
you can feel sympathy. You can feel compassion for that person. Mm-hmm. But you can't take it home with you.
Right. You can't. Well, then if you do, you never know what you're really going to bring.
Right.
Into your
You cannot
home.
take it home with you.
Yeah.
Period.
So all I know is that when people come to you, and we got to wrap it up, but I'll say it's a good way to learn really how to love other people better. When
you always have to think positive. Mm-hmm. Try to do something nice for somebody every day.
Yes.
Even if it's a phone call, how are you?
Right. And thinking about them is a good thing, but sometimes if you're thinking about them, it means you should be picking up the phone.
Right.
Yeah.
And checking on them.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to get a phone reading from you sometime. I've never done it that way, and I thank you, Dee.
You're welcome.
This was really good. I'm going to leave by picking a card and a pad. And I don't know what I'm going to get.
So show it to the camera.
Judgment.
Okay. Well, no, that's an awakening.
Okay.
So you're looking at it as a judgment card because that's what it reads on the bottom.
Yeah,
But that's an archangel.
So this is an archangel. This is what I got, people.
It's an awakening. And if you look at it, it almost looks like coffins floating in the water.
Wonderful. That's good. That's a good thought.
So I would tell you also, too, you have an anniversary of somebody that's passed around you.
Yes.
See? So you picked the right card.
It's very true. Oh.
So you see what I'm saying? So they all have meanings. But, I mean, there is 100,000 meanings for that card.
Well, I'm going to leave you guys with this. And I pull this card for the audience as well.
Yeah.
Come back next time to the next show. There'll always be someone really very interesting to talk to here on Talk with TQ. Thanks for coming, and I look forward to having you back again. Bye-bye.
Bye.